Okay, welcome once again. I want us to look at how we can use virtual reality in our classes and basically add value to lesson experience and make our student understand more and become better in what they are learning, and even make it possible and easy for them to recall these ideas because of how this virtual reality works. So there are so many ways in which a teacher or someone who is giving instructions is able to use virtual reality in their class. So let's get started. Let's look at how we can be able to use virtual reality in our classroom. So virtual reality and even augmented reality, which is the one that we mostly use when it comes to our smartphone, are very important, and they are elements and they are things which can really add and enhance learning experience for our student across various subjects. Now, there are several ways we can use or we can incorporate virtual reality or augmented reality in our class, basically to add value to what we are teaching or what we are giving the learners at the end of the day. So take for instance, one method is this. Take for instance, if there is an history lesson that the teacher is going to teach, or he or she wants to teach, and this lesson entails looking at archaeological facts, basically to learn different or ancient civilization and how those individuals who are living before us were doing their things, or how the historical facts are and how they can help us today, because we normally study history to even chart our future, because we have to study the past, the present, and only when we do that we can be able to understand where we are going. So when we incorporate this into our lesson, you find that instead of making or going on a physical trip where you go to the archaeological site to study this ancient civilization, we can take what we call a virtual trip, and the student or the learners are able to explore what there is in this virtual world, because virtual reality is able to transport students to different parts of the world or historical eras, providing immersive experience that otherwise would have not been possible, or otherwise would be impossible. For instance, I've given you an example. So the virtually the students, the learners are being transported to that virtual place, and they are able to interact with this information. And remember, they are not only using one sense, they are using the sense of touch, the sense of hearing, and so it incorporates multiple senses being simulated and capturing information from the environment, and that make it possible for students to internalize their learning. Okay, this help in basically making sure that the students are able to engage with what they are learning. They are able to understand much. Abstract concept can be presented in form of 3D, okay, 3 dimension, through augmented reality or virtual reality, making it easier and possible for the student to understand and to comprehend. Now, this basically help in their spatial learning and concept understanding. So it is important to do this. It is important to incorporate virtual reality in our lesson. Also, it offers what we call hand-on learning simulations. Okay, so using VR or AR, basically what happens, students engage in hands-on simulation that probably are expensive and or dangerous or basically impractical. So there is the elements of impractical taken away, the elements of being dangerous and impractical is taken away by the use of virtual reality, and the students are able to understand better. They are able to develop problem solving skills, because when they are studying things like human body and basically human anatomy, they are able to interact with these body parts virtually, something that can be very tricky when it comes to doing that practically, because sometimes it is scary, sometimes it can be difficult, or maybe the school or the institution doesn't have the capacity or doesn't have the components that are needed to conduct such. So the only best way is to have virtual reality, and when they do this, they will have hands-on practical ways and means of solving things which were or which could be impossible, and that will help in helping them to develop critical thinking skills, which is one of the many skills that a student or a person must have when they've gone through a system of instruction, when they've gone through a school, so that they have the basic understanding of things. And apart from that, they are able to think critically and logically, to have a logical conclusion of something, to have a critical, rational, logical conclusion of something they are studying. So that is what research are saying, that when you engage students in such kind of activities, they are well able to understand and gain much, because some practical bits of maybe something you are teaching them may not be possible physically, but if you use virtual reality, it becomes feasible and practical, and you are able to teach these students and they are able to understand even better, which is the main thing that teaching is all about. Teaching is about presenting information, delivering information, and having the people around you absorbing this knowledge and making them understand the idea, and they are able to resonate with that idea to an extent that that idea sink deep with them and sink in their mind, and they are well able to recall that when required. So the next idea is collaborative learning. Now, when incorporating virtual reality in our classes, we are able to facilitate collaborative learning, because this will enable students to interact with one another and even share their work. And through this, the spirit of teamwork, communication skills, and cross-cultural interaction is basically brought to life, and this helps them become very active members of the society in terms of communication. They are able to communicate what they understand clearly, and they are able to understand each other's cultural background. They become well versed, well informed in such areas, to an extent that when they come out of their lessons, or when they come out of this learning process and they've been churned out into the world where rubber meets the road, they are able to be active members of the society who are able to contribute positively. And they are not just able to contribute positively, but they can also think logically and rationally and bring out something that is well able to make the society grow and even become better. So it is very effective when you incorporate this into your class. You'll be helping your student a great deal in terms of developing cognitive and social skills, right? For them, there is also the aspect of language learning and cultural exposure. Yeah, this is very much possible because what happened is, using virtual reality, one can be transported to, let's say, Japan. When you go there virtually, you are able to learn what the Japanese are doing. Even if you are transported to Canada or to Australia, you are able to know how the cultural setup is there. You are able to learn the language of the people there through virtual reality without necessarily traveling physically to those areas. So it becomes practical and it becomes more effective because there is what we call cutting costs. Yeah, so instead of paying a lot of money traveling and staying there, spending hours and hours on the way, flying to those areas and doing your research or even learning the language, you can save that money and learn from here without necessarily having to travel to those areas. So you are able to virtually visit countries and basically practice and even get to understand their cultural ideals, their practices, and therefore you are also able to develop language skills, which is very important. Okay, today there are different ways we can incorporate virtual learning in our lessons, and part of it is by using the smartphone, leverage that and maximize on them and make sure that we get the best of virtual reality using them without investing so much into the virtual reality devices such as headset and many others. So basically we need to look at what are some of the apps that we can use to actually use virtual reality in learning. So I have a few apps here. So the first one is what we call flashcard, AR flashcard. So what this app does, it allows you to create interactive 3D flashcards that come to life with AR when they are scanned. Okay, so AR in this context is what we call a virtual augmented reality, for that matter. Next, we have what we call anatomy and biology visualization or biovisualization. Now, this app is very important because it allows students to explore and to study human anatomy, and what this app present is marvelous. It is able to present labels. It is able to give detailed information about specific parts of the human body, which is very important. Now the other app is what we call GeoGebra, which is an app that is used for geometry and mathematical exploration. So what this program does is that it is able to allow the students to manipulate 3D geometrical shape in augmented reality as they use it, as they learn. And that one is, we say that it helped them understand geometrical concept very well. Next, we have what we call civilization AR, right? We have civilization AR. It is a historical time travel app. So what it is able to do, this app allows students to explore historical artifacts and monuments in augmented reality, basically bringing history back to life, and that is very important. There's also what we call language translation and learning. Well, there's this app in Google, we call it Google Translate. Personally, I've been able to use this app often to understand some of the comments people are making online which are not in English, but also one particular point in time when we were doing some data analysis somewhere, we were presented with a lot of data collected from West Africa, where majority of those countries, they speak French. So we were able to translate the information from from French to English, and that help us, or did help us, to understand and to analyze data. So you find that it comes in handy to help you as a person to translate what you don't understand to a language that you understand. So it is a very instrumental language there. There's also what we call Elements for D app. Now this is an app that is used for science experiments and simulation. So what it does, it allows students to do virtual chemical practicals or experiments. At the same time, also the student can learn about the elements, the chemical elements and their compounds. So that is very important. Then we also have what we call virtual art gallery. So there is an app for that. It is called Art Vive. So it enables students to create what we call view and even create artistic work on the app, and it will be able to enhance their art creation by coming up with overlaid digital content on the physical artwork, which make it more appealing and more advanced. So it is important to know that there is also another app known as AR Mark, which is basically for interactive storytelling. So it allows a student to create their own interactive augmented reality stories by adding digital element to the physical objects that they have. There's also what we call geography and map exploration. So for that, there is an app called Walami. So this app allows students to annotate location with what we call augmented reality drawing, text and images. So that is very important. So basically, these are some of the ways we can be able to use virtual reality in our lesson, and I believe this information is very much don't wait until you have a big gadget or a big until you get enough money to do this. No, just start with what you have. Just start with your simple smartphone. Download the apps from Play Store or even Google Play Store, and therefore you will be able to understand or get to know how you can be able to use this app for the betterment of learning experience. At the end of the day, we are here to add value, because as it is, the technology is advancing, and probably in the near future the role of the teacher will change. Maybe a teacher will handle different different roles. They will play different roles, or they will be responsible of different duties, because technology is advancing. We have here the the likes of artificial intelligence, AI, which are able to provide information, right? People can decide what is the point of going to school if I have the course content and I have the AI which can get me the information. So long time ago, teachers were the center of knowledge; they were everything. But right now, with this learner-centered kind of lesson structures, with this kind of classroom organization where students are given a chance to collaborate and to discuss and to explore different avenues through hands-on experience and doing practical part of their lesson by themselves through the guidance and assistance of a teacher. You